right, welcome, Falls Count Anywhere podcast, the June 18th edition, right here, straight out of Niagara Falls, hence the Falls Count Anywhere. I see what we did there, Falls Count Anywhere, Niagara Falls. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you're watching on Facebook or any other platform, whether it be Spotify or whatever the case, YouTube. Hopefully we don't get blacked out on YouTube. But thanks for joining us on the show today. Guys, man, what an eventful week of wrestling we're going to touch base on today. A lot going on with Vince McMahon, Jeff Hardy. Man, oh man, just been an eventful week in the world of wrestling. So it's going to be a lot to talk about. Of course, Chris is going to have the vault. We're going to open up for the classic clips as well, as we like to do here, as always, on the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. But first and foremost, we are very happy to bring in our guest for today. This man is a longtime referee in the wrestling business, was a longtime referee in the wrestling business, started out in the ASWA and also in Georgia Championship Wrestling, associated with the NWA, and received the Charlie Smith Award for refereeing back in 2017 through the Cauliflower Alley Club. And we are just absolutely pleased to have him on our show today. He is Mr. Bobby Simmons. Bobby, thank you so much for joining us on Falls Count Anywhere today. How are you, sir?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for asking me. It's always a pleasure to talk about the glory days. So anything I can shed light on, I'll be happy to.
Absolutely, sir. We're fired up to have you because we love to talk about the classics and the classic wrestling days, the territory days. That we certainly miss, that we don't really have these days now, as you know. So any stories we hear from the old school, so to speak, is always a pleasure for us to listen to. With that being said, Bobby, wanted to ask you first and foremost, as far as, when you got your start into the wrestling business, how did you get your foot into the door as far as getting into the wrestling business? And then what was that initial experience like getting into wrestling?
I went to my first wrestling match in February of 1968. I was 7 years old, just before my 8th birthday. And it was, I may have my dates mixed up. I think it was 63 I went. But went with my uncle, never knew anything about it. And that night I fell in love with it. I mean, I was mesmerized. So I went to the matches every week. And in 1969, an opportunity presented itself for me to run errands for the Atlanta Wrestling Office. It was ABC booking back then. Ray Gunkel was still alive, still very much in control, but his office manager was a guy named Charlie Harbin. And Charlie recognized me as just somebody that wanted to be around the business and would work hard. And I lived within a mile of the wrestling office, so I would go over every day after school, run errands. And then that may mean running to the store. It may mean going to a cafe. Just a lot of times it was nothing. But I was there every day. That led into putting the ring up at the TV station on Saturdays, which led to ushering at the auditorium on Friday nights. We ran a little town called Griffin, Georgia on Saturdays. I would go down there and tear tickets, sell programs, whatever I had to do. And I did this. I got out of high school in in May of 72 and was doing all of those things. And when the split came, when Ann had the big split in November, they called me in, told me they was going to make a referee out of me. And that's how I got in the business, just being in the right place at the right time. That's
awesome. And, that's, because I assume it's a difficult business to get into, especially these days. And then when you're just starting out doing the odds and ends and whatnot, like you did, you kind of worked your way up, right?
Well, this was kind of I do not mean this comment to sound racist or anything of that nature, but back then I was known as what was called a Chinaman. I did the jobs nobody else wanted to do. I mean, I did everything from paint ring posts to haul rings I did everything there was to do in that business except own it. And it was tough. It was tough. And coming in, I was blessed when I got to work for Ann because all the talent that was in Georgia at the time of the split, everybody went with Ann except for Jerry Oates, Bill Dromo, and Bob Armstrong. And a guy named Daryl Cocker, a local guy here in Atlanta. And they stayed with the Elf, but all the talent, Dick Steinborn, the Assassins, Tommy Siegler, Rock Hunter, all the top talent that the people knew went with Ann. So it wasn't like I started with an independent where I didn't have anybody to help me or I was working with guys that hadn't worked very much. These guys were seasoned veterans, and it was a tremendous asset to me to be involved with those guys.
Yeah, Bobby, I got to ask you, of course, as we show our classic clips each week, and our first clip was featuring you, sir, over the years and your history in pro wrestling. And the first one is with you on Georgia Championship Wrestling with Mr. The Dean, Gordon Solie, and Jerry Briscoe. How was that being with Gordon Solie?
There again, very blessed. There's a lot of great announcers in the industry. Gordon had the most exposure, I guess, because of the satellite and the going all over. But Gordon was very knowledgeable. Gordon, even when Gordon wasn't knowledgeable, you didn't know. He thought you thought he was. He was a pleasure to work with. He was very professional. He would fly into Atlanta on Fridays, and we'd pick him up Saturday morning, take him to TV station. We'd do our show, and then we'd take him to the airport, and he'd fly home to Tampa. But it was a pleasure working with him. Not only did I work with him at the TV when he was around the Florida office doing different jobs there, I was the office manager for Georgia Championship Wrestling, and I was constantly looking for tapes or discussing something that might be coming up or whatever. So had a lot of dealings with Gordon. He was a pleasure to work with.
We had his son on, Mr. Gennard Solie, and he's a great guy too.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I worked with Eric, his son Eric, a lot. Most of the film footage that you see on Georgia Championship Wrestling that was shot at the Omni or even at the Auditorium in Atlanta, Eric Solie was the cameraman. He's the one that shot that film for us.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Very cool. And Bobby, the other thing I wanted to ask you about too is as far as like, and I've done this to where sometimes if a match is going on, whatever wrestling it might be, whether it be today's wrestling, whatever the case back in the day, and when you just focus on the referee, sometimes like you feel like the referee is so important to the match, obviously, right? Because they gotta call the 1, 2, 3 and whatnot. But the positioning of the referee to the camera, the communication with the wrestlers themselves, like as you evolved into a great referee, like what was it like learning, working with the talent in ring, and then also just the positioning of where you had to be at all times, and like what went into that? Did you do a lot of training under other referees to that before that? Like how does that work?
Charlie Smith trained me. He gave me advice. It was never like we go to a ring, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. Number one, my first night, the first thing he told me was always work to the left of the heel, which is something you don't think about. But if you stay to the left of the heel and he wants to throw a haymaker with the right hand, you're looking at his back and not at his fist. Tom Ernesto, who was the booker when I started, the first thing he told me was, and I think a lot of referees miss this today, we weren't part of the show. We were there to be an official. And back in the day, we sold our business as real. There was none of this sports entertainment stuff. So the referee was a referee could make a match. He could screw it up real bad. You learn to stay out of the way. As far as being in the right place, it was hard when I first started, but the guys would say, get on my other side, but then it got easier. You learn, one thing you learn is you do not put your butt between the TV camera and the whatever's going on in the ring. So you kind of learn to work one side of the ring without making it obvious that's what you're doing. But yeah, Charlie was a big part of my life. He told me when I first started, he'd always say, bring your gear. You never know when somebody's not going to show up. So I'd bring my gear every night, and every night I'd take the ring, set it up, be ready to sell programs, whatever. And he'd say, well, go put your referee outfit on. I'm going to let you referee a couple of matches, get you some experience. And it only took me about a week to figure out that I was refereeing 2 matches every night, but it was always the last 2 on the card. And he was home or on the way home before I got out of the ring and got a shower. But also I was working with the top guys every night, which was a great learning experience, and it helped me in the long run. So I hope that answered your question. You just kind of, when you're in an arena show, it doesn't matter where you are. But on TV, you learn to not get between the camera and what's going on in the ring.
Yeah, I always found that aspect of it very interesting. Because another thing too, I noticed too with like today's wrestling, there's an earpiece in the referee's ear, and I don't know if they have any influence on letting the talent know. Like for example, both AEW and WWE tend to go to commercials in the middle of matches. So I'm wondering if the referee is communicating with them. We're in a commercial break, so kind of let it stretch out for the next 3 minutes. Don't finish the match. Does that type of thing go on?
No, exactly. That's exactly what the earphone's for. See, back in the day, we didn't have that. We knew what the finish was. We knew what was supposed to happen. We knew about how much time they wanted the match to last. And then we were pretty much on our own. We had the discretion as referees. We had the discretion. And I say this was after I had been doing this for several years before I was given this. But if we were in a town somewhere and we had a match where the heat got excessive to the point where you think you're going to have a riot, the referee had the authority to change the finish. You better be darn sure you're making the right decision. You don't just do it because you can. But we could do that. We had the authority back then. Now, if you notice, they don't even announce the referees' names anymore. Referees are a non-item with the promotions today. A good night's work was referee a full card, walk out, nobody noticed you was there. Didn't happen very often, but it was also very important to be in the right place, right time if you were involved in what was going on. So,
very cool.
Yeah, the thing today is I mean, they're being told, they don't have any authority at all. They're being told every move to make.
Yeah, I was going over last night. I got a classic wrestling library of DVDs from every territory, Bobby, and I was going over some matches last night from August '86, Houston wrestling, Sam Houston Coliseum, and the ring announcer introduced Doug Gilbert as the referee. So yep. I mean, that goes back to respect. And nowadays, I don't know if they do it in the NWA with Billy Corgan, but it's terrible.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's really sad. But there again, they have no. I don't watch today's product. Okay, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. But when I do happen to be flipping along and I see something and I stop for a minute or two, it's really sad that the referees get no respect. They're not treated like they're part of the business. They're just there. They're window dressing. And I think that's so sad. So sad.
Yeah, it's rare that you see a lot. I mean, I shouldn't say rare, but you don't see it as often anymore where like a referee gets taken out mid-match and chaos kind of goes on in the ring while the referee is kind of recovering or another referee comes running down. Bobby, let me ask you this. At any point, did you have to take a bump to kind of have, as part of the match, have the referee get taken out and that type of thing?
Oh, yeah, all the time. All the time. I mean, Atlanta TV, I don't remember what year it was. It must have been 74. Right in the middle of the war. I mean, between the two promotions. Mm-hmm. Bill Watts is booker over to the other office, and he's going on TV, and he's talking about Ray Candy, who was our Georgia heavyweight champion. He was the first black Georgia heavyweight champion. And Gunkel Enterprises made him the champion. Well, Ray came to work and was trained, and Ray had worked for the city of Atlanta in their sanitation department. And Watts goes on TV and he goes, all they got's garbage men. Those guys don't know how to wrestle. They're not tough, blah, 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 blah. So Tom Ernesto, we get to TV that Saturday morning, and we at the old, if you've seen the Atlanta tapes, the early tapes for the earliest stuff you can see was from a studio, was Channel 17 when they were on West Peachtree in Atlanta. Very small studio, only seated about 100 people. It was really tight. And we dressed in the lobby. They put plywood up over the windows, and we dressed in the lobby of the building. And there was a closet there. It was about 2.5 feet wide and about 10 feet deep, and it was where they kept their office supplies. So I got there that morning and I got dressed, and Tom said, I need to talk to you. And we go down and we go in this closet, and me and him and Rock Hunter are in this closet. And he said, did you hear Watt's remarks? And I said, yeah, I heard them. He said, well, what we're going to do today, he said, me and Rock are going to have a shoot on TV. He said, we are going to beat the crap out of each other. And he said, we want to disqualify Rock, but if we throw a working punch at you, it's going to defeat the purpose. So I asked, what are you asking me? He said, we don't want to bust you open. We want to black your eye.
Oh,
you got to remember, I'm 18 years old. Never had this asked of me before. And I must have lost color in my face because Tom laughed. He said, if you don't want to do it, tell me. And I said, if it's good for the business, I'll do whatever I need to do. So it was the awfulest thing you've ever seen in your life. I mean, they pounded on each other, and they looked like boxers. And I walked into this punch, and when to walk into a punch where your hand's by your side and know it's coming, try slamming your head in the door and just know it's coming and wait on. I mean, it's so. And the sad part was it swelled up, it turned red, but it never turned black. But that's just one of the things you talk about, taking bumps. Yeah, you never knew when they were coming. Sometimes.
wow.
Terry Funk, when he was a champion, working with Abdullah, and Abdullah goes out of the ring, and Terry goes, grab me around the waist and push me back. So I grabbed him around the waist and I'm pushing him back. And the next thing I know, my feet are straight up in the air and I'm being suplexed right in the middle of the ring. And, so you never know they're coming. You just, you learn how to work, and you do the things that my son worked some independent shows as a referee. And I would get tickled at him because he'd say, well, I'm not going to let this guy hit me because I don't know how he throws a punch, or I'm not going to do this. Or we didn't have that option. We just, I laugh at him. I think, man, you just learn how to work and you do what you got to do. So,
and when you say, when you say names like Abdullah the Butcher and Terry Funk taking a punch from one of those guys, my goodness, those aren't lightweights.
Abdullah, I loved Abdullah, still do. He's a great guy. He was a funny guy. And Abdullah, when he found out I didn't mind doing stuff, I mean, it was something every night. He would have me follow him out of especially if it was the main event, he'd have me follow him out of the ring. And when we get near the dressing room, he'd grab me and run me into a brick wall or a concrete wall or something, and leave me lay it. It was just, he knew I could do it, and he thought it was cool. And I had a lot of fun with him. But yeah, I was very blessed in the era I come up with to work with these guys. Yeah.
And when you were traveling back then, because I know with a lot of the territory days, there was a lot of travel involved, going from show to show. A lot of stories that we've heard from past guests. Did the referees kind of travel with like a ring crew or other referees, or did you travel with wrestling, with actual wrestlers? How did that dynamic work?
When I was working for Ann, I was responsible for the maintenance of all the rings all around the state. I was when I refereed, if it was a spot show where we had to have a ring, I drove the ring truck and I put the ring up. That was part of my deal. In November 74, when Ann shut down, there was 32 wrestlers on the roster, including referees. I was the only one that walked out of Ann's office on Saturday morning and walked into Georgia Championship Wrestling Monday morning with a job. Everybody else left. They got booked out. When I walked in, Harley Race was a booker, and I sat down with him and Jim Barnett, and it was explained to me that I would be refereeing when he could use me to referee, and that'd be mostly spot shows, I'd drive the ring truck. They wanted me to work part-time in the office. And I was also taking over responsibility for maintenance of all their rings. So on nights I went to a town where I didn't have to take the ring, I either drove or there were certain people I would ride with. And no disrespect to anybody, I wasn't going to jail because of somebody else's stupidity. So I was very particular who I rode with. I made a lot of miles with Mr. Wrestling number 2. We traveled together a lot. Me and him and Ronnie West traveled together a lot. I rode with Bill Dromo a lot, who became one of the dearest friends I ever had in the world. We traveled a lot together. So, but yeah, I was very careful. But yeah, it was always, you could always catch a ride, but you just had to pick your spots.
Bobby, I got to ask you, just throw some names at you and tell us your interaction or not with them. Of course, the one and only, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, Tommy Rich, Austin Idol.
Worked with all of them. Rick, of course, was a champion, so he was in and out. Jim Barnett was the secretary-treasurer of the National Wrestling Alliance, and he was responsible for booking the champion. So had a lot of interaction with Rick as far as making sure he had his schedule and when he was here. And I refereed a lot of his matches when he was here. That was true of all the champions. I probably had the most interaction with Harley Race because Harley would call me from all over the country. He'd have an altercation or get a ticket from a sheriff or a deputy or a state patrolman somewhere. And he'd call me and he'd go, how about sending 4 or 5 pictures to this guy? And they need to be autographed. Oh, okay. So I would sign 4 or 5 pictures and mail them to whoever. But yeah, that happened a lot with him. But Austin Idol I worked with Austin first when he was Mike McCord. He came in here when I first met him. He was Mike McCord, and when he came back as Austin Idol, if I had not known, I would have had no clue who he was. But yeah, what a transformation! That's just amazing to me. But yeah, I worked with him. Never had a problem. I'll give you a funny Mike McCord story. Austin Idol. He worked. We worked a battle royal on a Wednesday night in Columbus, and Fred Ward was the promoter. And Fred got in the ring after the thing was over and presented the winner's check to Austin Idol. Now, when you do that, you always sign the check Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse or Joe Blow. Mr. Ward signed the check and signed Fred Ward on it. Well, Mike went to the bank the next morning, and of all the banks he could have went to, he walked into a bank where the manager had been at the matches the night before. And he walks in with a $10,000 check, and the teller looks at it, and the guy goes, "No, it's good. I saw him win it last night." And he cashed the check.
That's awesome.
Of course, they got the money back, but still, it took a lot of nerve to walk in and cash that check.
Wow.
So yeah, Austin, never had a problem with Austin. I never had a problem with anybody, really. What was the other one you asked me about? You asked me about Rick, and you asked me about
Tommy Rich.
Tommy Rich. I was here. I was refereeing Atlanta TV the first time I ever laid eyes on Tommy Rich. He came down from the Nashville office. Nick Goulas sent him to Atlanta for Abdullah to chew up and spit out on Atlanta TV. They were sending down a couple of guys every week. We were getting them from Alabama. We were getting them from Nashville, and just come in and do a job on TV. That particular Saturday morning, Tommy came in, and Barnett happened to be at the TV station that morning. And Barnett saw him. And Barnett he could look at a guy and know if you could draw money with him or not. And he looked at Tommy Rich, and he called Tom Ernesto into the office, into the little break room there, and he says, "Do not let that guy wrestle on TV today. Do not let him get beat up. Put him out there with somebody for an interview. Just let him sit there. Don't want him to open his mouth. Just let him sit there where people can see him. He said, because we're going to have 1 million little teenage girls go absolutely gaga when they watch TV tonight. And that's exactly what they did. And then Barnett went home, called Nick Gulas, and worked a deal out to get Tommy down here. And thus began the saga of Tommy Rich. And Tommy, what a run he had here. I mean, he just absolutely, it was killer. Little girls went crazy. Teenagers, it was nuts. And he come in, and Tommy really learned how to work on the fly here because he was working with top guys because that's where they were putting him. And Tommy did good. Tommy did real good.
Bobby, let me ask you this, because you've been around some amazing talent in your time as a referee. Two-part question here. Do you consider Ric Flair the greatest of all time? And what do you think about him getting back into the ring next month?
I'll answer the second one first. I hope he don't die.
Right.
I know when you're in that business, I think Harley Race told me what we were talking one time, and Harley said, once you're under that spotlight, it never leaves your bloodstream. And that's the truth. I watched, as I said, my son did some independent stuff, and I went and I watched a couple of matches he was at just to support him. But my mind's telling me, God, you could do this so much better. You could help these guys. But then my knees go, nah, you can't. And it's truth. Last time I was introduced to a wrestling show, I got in the ring, and it was like walking in quicksand. The ring wasn't that hard. That soft. It's just I was so unstable because it'd been so long.
Yeah.
If you don't use it, you lose it. So I hope he does all right. If that's what he's got to do, my gut tells me he's doing this for a payday. I don't know what his situation is. Haven't seen him in years, and God bless him. I hope he's good. Your second question, is he the greatest of all time? In my opinion, no. No. He was put in a position to be a champion. He was pushed by the Crockett's. That's great. That's the way all champions are made, is by somebody pushing them. He's had a heck of a career. He's made a lot of money. Ole Anderson's book, if you've read it, one of the things he said, and he took a lot of heat from it, was when you've seen one Ric Flair match, you've seen them all. I think if you'll be honest, you go watch 10 of them, you'll see the same match 10 times. And that's okay when you're the world champion and you're working in Niagara Falls tonight, and you're in Erie, Pennsylvania tomorrow night, and you're in Atlanta the next night. But when you're working a territory, or you're working the same towns week after week after week after week, you got to be able to think on the fly. And I mean no disrespect by that at all. I think the greatest heavyweight champion that ever lived was Lou Thesz. Lou Thesz was the epitome of what our business should be. He conducted himself as a gentleman. He was, whenever you saw him, he was dressed in a suit and a tie. He was what it ought to be. I think Dory Funk Jr. was a great world champion. I think Jack Briscoe was a great world champion. They've all had their place in history, and that's great. But as far as being the greatest of all time, I don't think. Not in my opinion. And my opinion, in $3 get you a cup of coffee somewhere. So, but that's and that's no disrespect to Rick at all. I like Rick and hope he does well.
Yeah, no, interesting take. Absolutely. Love to hear that. And let me ask you this as well, Bobby. This big news that came out of the world of wrestling just this week with Vince McMahon. There's like a big investigation going on. He made like a weird, very strange appearance last night on SmackDown. He kind of came out in character, said we're all in this together, and then just kind of walked off. Does this feel to you? In your opinion, the beginning of the end of the McMahon era with WWE? He's 76. I know there's been talk of Stephanie or maybe stepping in temporarily, but maybe that the company might be sold down the line at some point.
Well, I think he's drawing his line in the sand last night. I heard about it. I didn't watch it. I think he drew a line in the sand last night to say, "Hey, I ain't going nowhere." Whether he's the CEO or the chief latrine orderly, whatever title he would hold, he's still got all the stock. He's going to make money no matter what.
Yeah.
Did he do the things they're accusing him of? I don't know. I wasn't there. I know most of the time when you got a guy in power, sometimes they skirt doing right and wrong. But I don't know. And yeah, you're right. He's 70. He's eventually going to have to turn the reins over to somebody.
Yeah.
And, who better than Steph or Triple H to, I've never met Triple H, but I was told by Jody Hamilton, one of the original assassins, who, God love him, still I named my son after. He told me, he said Triple H is one of the nicest people he had ever met, and he has a great deal of respect for the business. And if Jody says that, I agree. I'm accepting that as truth. So yeah, he's eventually going to have to turn the reins over to somebody. But the strange part of all of this is we haven't heard anything from Linda about what's going on. So
yeah,
who knows? This is just another soap opera.
Yeah, and it's just at the beginning phases of it, if you will, because it's all this just kind of just was cracked open this past week, and it should be an interesting ride to see where this all goes. But you're right, a good point about Triple H, because you even see some of the guys that have gone over to AEW, FTR, Adam Cole, those guys, they always thank Triple H for the opportunity they were given in NXT and what he did for their career. So I would agree with you 100%. I think Triple H would be the guy. Would be a perfect fit to take it over, and I think he's young enough to take it over for a long time, and he knows what he's doing as far as developing talent and keeping storylines going like he did in NXT. I think he'd be the perfect transition, in my opinion, anyway. Well, guys, Bobby, we'd love to talk to you and hear wrestling stories all morning, man, all afternoon.
I could go all day too.
Yeah, it's so great to hear this stuff. And anytime you want to come back and join us on the podcast, we'd be honored to have you and hear more wrestling stories. I'm sure there's a vault of wrestling stories you haven't even scratched the surface on yet that we'd love to hear again, or love to hear down the road from you. So again, thank you so much for joining us, myself, Chris DiCarlo, and John Restaino. We all thank you for joining us on the show today, sir.
Thank you so much, man. Anytime, just reach out. I'm available.
We appreciate it, Bobby, and take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend, sir.
Thanks, man. Y'all have a great day.
Take care now. Well, that was great, guys. To be able to speak with Mr. Bobby Simmons, they're a longtime referee in the wrestling business, and like I said, man, we could hear so many stories. I'm sure he's got a billion of them that are just so cool to listen to. Just some of the talent he worked with. Man, I'd love to hear more about Abdullah the Butcher, man. What a scary individual he was, right? And to hear some more about him. But good interview here, guys. We're going to take a quick break here on the Falls Count Anywhere podcast, and we'll be right back. Stick with us. right, welcome back. And again, thank you to each and every one of our sponsors here on Falls Count Anywhere. We appreciate each and every one of you. And again, thank you to Mr. Bobby Simmons, longtime referee in the wrestling business. Thank him again for joining us and sharing those wrestling stories with us, guys. Good stuff, man. It's just like you said, Chris, you threw those names out at him, and the opinion on Ric Flair I thought was very interesting, and man, very, very cool stuff. So I loved listening to some of those stories from these guys, because whether it be the talent or the referee or whatever the case, those insider or behind the scenes stories, so to speak, are pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. It was great having him, and I'm sure he'll be back. And just all the rare and classic stories is also what we're about here. So
that's right, man. Back in the day, those guys, man, it was a different world of wrestling, so to speak, back then. So yeah, definitely very cool. And as we brought up with Mr. Simmons there, as we talked about Vince McMahon. Just to touch on it again here, guys. I don't know if you caught any of the SmackDown. Yeah, there's that Stephanie is going to be stepping in as the interim CEO of WWE while Vince gets this all sorted out. It sounds like John Laurinaitis, head of talent operations. He was also involved in this, and he has stepped down from his position, from what I've heard. I don't know, guys. This could be the beginning of the end here for Vince. We'll see how this goes. I mean, I don't know. Somebody had mentioned it before. John, you had put up that display there of him appearing on SmackDown, and we saw him show up last night. But somebody made a comment prior to the show, saying that, look, if he's going to come out in character, you're kind of being disrespectful to anybody he might have violated or harassed. That's the reason for this investigation, and the reason for the $3 million that has been quoted as the the hush money, so to speak. It's being disrespectful to those victims if they were victims of any type of sexual assault or anything. You're coming out in a Vince McMahon character and doing the strut and all this stuff. I mean, look, we got to see where this goes, where the investigation goes. But I don't know if that was the right approach, man. I mean, Vince is definitely on his own planet.
Yeah, he's I read something else too. I don't know if you guys caught this. There's some kind of insider trading situation going on with, I saw one of the board members. And that might be the actual criminal, because I don't know with Vince. What's funny to me is the board of directors are doing the investigation right now, I think, is what was said.
Yeah,
this is all very interesting, right? I mean, last night I did catch it on. I did wanted to see, and I'm sure it was a huge ratings thing. I think Charlie, me and you were discussing it a little bit. Think about right to the top of the hour what that must have been. The amount of people that tuned in at 8:01, to see that.
Yeah, I was right on it, man.
Yeah.
And it was really nothing. It should have been more, I thought.
I think Mr. Simmons said it right, though. I think that was his way of drawing a line in the sand and saying you're with me or you're not. That whole thing of together, all whatever that whole saying is. I felt like that's what he was doing there. He was like saying, you want to be with me? Fine. You don't go. I don't know. He's just so ridiculous. Yeah,
he's looking for the support from the wrestling cult, so to speak, the diehard fans, the ones that are never, guys like us. I mean, they were always going to watch wrestling, right? But it makes you question. Like when he comes out and he does that, he's in character, and it was kind of a questionable decision. And of course, we hear all these stories, and of course, a lot of them are rumors. But some of this stuff seems to be true because it happens on a weekly basis. But Vince McMahon tearing up scripts like an hour before the show starts, and talent being frustrated. We saw with Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out. They've been frustrated with their role. It just makes you wonder what's going on there in the McMahon world.
Yeah, weird with a lot of walkouts, right? I mean, and Stephanie had just stepped away, and then those two. I mean, I don't know. There's some. Yeah, you're right, Charlie. I mean, Chris, that seems very weird. The things that have led up to this news. So.
Very odd, yeah, very odd, and then we'll see how it plays out in the weeks to come. Should be interesting, and then hopefully, we'll get to a resolution on that. But also in the world of wrestling, unfortunately, we lost Mr. Dave Hebner, longtime referee in the WWE and elsewhere. Just recently passed away. Unfortunately, of course, Dave Hebner was involved with Earl Hebner, being twins. They were in that infamous twin referee storyline with the Hulkster, where the belt went temporarily to Andre. But Dave Hebner refereed some classic matches, including WrestleMania 3 with the Macho Man Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat, who a lot of people think was the best match of WrestleMania 3. and plenty of other just unbelievable classic matches as he spent his time in the World Wrestling Federation. So rest in peace to Mr. Dave Hebner. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, he was one of the best in the business. So that's sad and too bad to hear.
Yeah. I heard that he suffered from Parkinson's for a while. So,
wow. Yeah.
Really, yeah. What a great guy, though. I remember my whole, he was a big part of what we loved. So.
Yeah, and you go back to some of those classic matches, and man, they were definitely identical because sometimes you don't know who was the referee. Was it Dave or was it Earl? Yeah. So rest in peace to Mr. Hebner. Very sad news. Also, again, another thing that made the news: Jeff Hardy was once again arrested for DUI, DWI. My gosh, I don't know how many opportunities this guy's going to get, but. Holy cow! He's been suspended without pay by AEW. The right thing to do for AEW. Get this guy some help. Look, the big news before he left WWE was WWE wanted to get him back into some sort of rehab or whatever the case to help him. And I guess the deal was, and I don't know if you ever saw a clip of this match. In one of his last matches, he was stumbling around a little bit during his last match in WWE. He insisted he wasn't drinking or anything like that beforehand. There's really been no confirmation of that, but WWE wanted to get him some help. He refused, and then eventually was released, and then went to AEW, and then this happens. Booker T, had an opinion on it, saying that AEW kind of bared some responsibility because they kind of let him, just once he got there, he just kind of ran wild. They didn't offer him any help like WWE did, but I guess that was the point of him leaving. He didn't want to do that, but. We're all adult. I mean, they're all adults at the end of the day, and Jeff Hardy's responsible for his own actions. But what do you guys think of that? I mean, Jeff Hardy, could that be the final nail in his career?
Well, real quick, before we get to you, John, on this, I agree. I'm glad that AEW though is coming down hard on him. Yeah. I believe somebody has to, and hopefully he'll smarten up, sober up, and either continue or not. Same stuff is going on with Sonny.
Right. Yeah.
It's sad to see how they go downhill, but I don't know. I
mean, how much career does Jeff Hardy have left? I mean, he's 44, 45 years old. I mean, how many more chances is he going to get? Right. I mean, and let's face it, he's not in his prime of his career where he's going to be in a main event spotlight. So, I mean, it could just be a matter of, look, if he messes up again, they're just going to be done with him.
I just wonder how much they all have to, I know he's his own, he's an adult, he can do what he wants. But the bumps and bruises, the guy jumping off of buildings, for Christ's sake, doing backflips into things and making them tons of money. I could only imagine the pain. I assume he must still be in as far as hydrocodone and the things he takes.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Part of me says I agree with, he's got a straight, but how much have they used him? I mean, they just keep on this guy with pay-per-views and all the stuff that he's brought. It's sad. I always enjoyed watching him. The minute I saw him on AEW, I went there right away just because I wanted to see him fight. I've always enjoyed it. I hope they don't just desert him. Let's put it that way. Yeah. I hope they at least, they got to be hard on him. Sure, of course, they can't pay him. But they got to, I hope no one just you find out he's just gone. That'd kind of be sad.
Yeah, hopefully with Matt Hardy being, established in AEW and, of course, his brother, hopefully having that support system within the company will help him on his comeback trail and he straightens out and maybe this kind of goes out the right way and not this way because, it's been a mess. And if you haven't seen the video, there is a video of it online. Go on Twitter or wherever the case, YouTube, probably YouTube it, whatever. But it's crazy when the cops were pulling him over and talking to him, they didn't realize he was a pro wrestler. They were just kind of, what's your name and who are you, this and that. And it was just like a routine stop that just was disastrous as they figured out he was more than 3 times over the limit in driving a vehicle. Not good. So we'll see where that goes, guys. Very interesting stuff as far as the world of the current world of professional wrestling. And of course and on the entertainment side of it, if you will, we got the Forbidden Door pay-per-view coming up for AEW next week that we can talk a little bit more in depth next week, as you guys will take over the show for next week. But yeah, so just wanted to touch base on that, see your guys' thoughts on those matters there. But of course, we want to check in. Social media always brings us some insights and inside the mind of the great Iron Sheik. And when this tweet came up, he was talking about Columbia House, right? And for 10 cents, go F yourself for 1 cent, whatever the case here. I know you guys remember. You guys are old enough to remember the old Columbia House CDs and tapes where you pay a penny, and then you get like 10 CDs or whatever. Then you got to just pay as you go. I think I did that once, but I never really followed up on it, and I probably haven't. I think a lot of Americans have some outstanding debt with Columbia House somewhere, right?
Yes.
Time Life music.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just a different day and age now. Now you can just go online and listen to it. But back then, you open up it was like somewhere in the middle of the TV guide or something like that, right? And you'd see this Columbia House ad, be like, oh my God, I could get a Beastie Boys, a White Snake, and a Guns N' Roses tape for like a penny each. Yeah, hook me up, man. So,
that comes out of nowhere. Jesus.
Yeah, that did come out of nowhere. But the Sheik, that's why we love him.
That's right.
Let's see what we got.
And then Bovada, troll your least favorite fan base in 5 words or less. Blonde son of a bitch. We know who he's referring to. That blonde son of a bitch, jabroni. I don't know. I'm guessing it's Hulk Hogan. I would assume it's safe to assume.
Yeah, I would guess.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We got him. Here we go.
And then, of course, just to reiterate, wherever I would beat the F out of that jabroni, Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I think that's the blonde he's referring to in the previous tweet there. A week doesn't go by without the Sheik wanting to throw it out there to the social media world that he would humble that blonde jabroni Hulk Hogan, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
That would be great if they could be. Well, how old is he? He's 80, right?
80.
He's 80.
Yeah.
He's way older than Hogan, but yeah, I don't think they're in no shape.
They're the last one.
Wow.
And then, of course, the Sheik just reminding us he is the legend of the earth, Bubba. I mean, look, at 80 years old, going strong.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll agree with that. You are the legend of the earth, Sheik. We love you here at Falls Count Anywhere. So, always good to check in with the social media tweets of the Iron Sheik and his love for Hulk Hogan. And as that love affair continues, what is it, 36 years later, 46 years or 40 years later? 38 years later. Yeah, my math is terrible. 38 years later from that Madison Square Garden and the start of that jabroni Hulkamania.
That's just great.
That Columbia House thing really staggered me. I got to say, I hadn't thought of Columbia House in so long. Wow, that was a good one.
Yeah, man. Back when we bought cassette tapes,
Yeah.
And kids, if you don't know what a cassette tape is, Google that too. Back when we had when the phone was on the wall, and the boombox was playing our music,
And the rotary phone, you had to dial with the dial.
The rotary, the rotary, man. You had to work to dial a number back then, man. And if there was a 9 in there, you had to wait for that thing to come all the way back around. You know what I mean?
And then the call waiting was a big deal, right? While we were growing up. Like, hang on, I got this guy on the other line.
Yeah.
Or wait, I got this girl. I'll see you later.
Yeah. Call waiting was a good way to get rid of the call you were on. You could just make that up. Like, I got another call coming in. I gotta take it. If you want to cut somebody off, Good times, man. Good times.
But yeah, speaking of that classic stuff, segue into our classic clips. Here we have 4 classic clips. And once again, as I say each and every week, they are from my own personal DVD pro wrestling classic collection. I do not sell them to nobody. I do not trade them to nobody. They are mine and mine only. And I do share here with their show. In fact,
entertainment purposes only, right, Chris?
That's right. Right now, John, let's roll our first clip. Is from our guest today, Mr. Bobby Smith. Here we go. Mr. Simmons would probably appreciate this. Georgia Championship Wrestling 1982 here with Gordon Soley and Jerry Briscoe.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
And what perfect quality.
I know. Love the colors.
Yeah. Got to get a Georgia championship shirt.
You're going to see here what has actually transpired. I mean, this is an incredible clip of. Well, you'll see it gets better right now.
I know. I was thinking of asking him this, but maybe next time we'll ask him about this.
It's Michael Hayes.
One of the Freebirds.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. I think he still has those long locks.
Yes, he still does.
Bobby
Here
was
we are,
almost
yeah.
the king.
Guys, they shave their head in their older age.
A rare look into the locker room and a locker room interview back in the day. You don't see much of that anymore.
No, not at all. We don't see anything. This is great.
There was a different attitude back then. You know, it was, listen, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to kick the shit out of this guy, and the whole world's going to love it. You know, and you don't really see that as much anymore.
Then
No.
what's going to happen next week? You got it tuned in.
Right, and it was great. Oh, they're distracted now.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Ole Anderson, Stan Larry Hansen just going to town. And watch Ole go.
oh,
There goes Mr. Simmons.
Get out of there just in time.
here he comes again. Look at the red pants.
Oh, here
This
he
is
comes.
good.
Ole Anderson.
should ask him about
hammered.
those red
And there
pants.
goes the cameraman.
Yeah, destroy the evidence.
All right, that's right. Easier to do back then.
Yeah, and then just a recent clip here of like we had Mr. Simmons on our show. He appeared on somebody else's podcast.
Yeah, you know, and as I was looking up information on Mr. Simmons there, one of the podcasts did pop up. These guys did a good job, and he was able to talk about his career there with those guys as well. You know, and as you listen to some of that interview, you kind of get a feel for, okay, when we get him on the show, like, what is he, a talker? Is he gonna? Man, I'll tell you what. Like I said, listening to Mr. Simmons, those stories from back in the day, as he elaborated on some of that stuff and gave his opinions on some of the current things, man, that was great. So yeah, awesome. Mr. Simmons, man, Mr. Simmons, out of respect, Bobby Simmons as a friend, if you will, we respect the heck out of you, man, and that was great.
Yes, John, let's roll him. Number 2,
All right.
I
Here we
believe
go.
our friend of the show, the Iron Sheik guys. Here we go. Some early Sheik. This is 1982, the Memphis territory. And there here in the background, there's Lance Russell.
Oh.
We had his son Shane Russell on the show. Yeah, there went the club to the head, John.
Yeah.
That
Who's
damn
the
club.
manager there?
Jimmy Hart actually was with the Sheik. This is 1982.
Oh, wow. He's got a
Oh,
mask
great.
on or
Okay.
something.
Yeah, mask or helmet. I don't know what that
Yeah, I don't know what that is. See what I
Yeah.
mean? He's got something on.
Yeah.
At first I thought it was like kimchi or something, but no.
And then
Oh.
here we go, Iron Sheik. Some rare clips here that have nothing to do with the WWF or WWE.
I love when that happens.
Yeah.
When they
Some
yell at the
fan-
crowd, that's great.
That Tony
Yeah,
Atlas there, Chris?
No, actually, that's Iron Sheik against the Natural Butch Reed.
Bush
Here
Reed. I
in,
thought Tony Atlas. Oh man. I
this
fired.
was out of Houston Coliseum. And then here we go, the Iron Sheik against the WWC favorite of all time, Puerto Rico's own Carlos Colon.
Carlos Colon. Absolutely.
Oh, there goes the ref.
Oh,
Going to
referee
town
taking a
on
bump. There we go.
So again, he throws the arm.
the Sheik taking a powder for a little bit. What a great career. All over the place.
We love that
I love
jabroni.
The interaction with the crowd, I love that. I love it.
Oh, the
All
Sheik's
right.
interactions with the crowd were top notch, man. I ran number one.
Yes.
All right, roll it. Our next one here
All right.
is some
Of course, the Hammer himself.
classic. Yes, one of the tough guys, right, in the business over the years. Greg the Hammer Valentine, and of course his famous father Johnny Valentine.
I love the robes, man. Just as good as Flair's.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was Valentine was their first match. There was Tiger Conway in Houston, and here we see Valentine in St. Louis against Kerry Von Erich here.
Wow.
Wow, talk about a couple legends. Sheesh.
And here we have a clip of a cage match with Mr. Valentine against Carlos Colon there out of Puerto Rico.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Here you see Valentine trying to escape the door, right? No, that's not going to happen.
That's great.
How can you beat Carlos Colon in his own backyard, right?
Yeah. The cages. I love it.
Right. The classic steel cage matches. Don't see that no more either. And then here we are later on in their careers as we see the Hammer against the Birdman, Coco Beware.
Oh, wow.
Now, is this post WWF, this footage for these two guys?
Oh, yeah. This was like within probably the last 10, 15 years.
Okay. I was going to say they were looked a little older there. Interesting you bring up the Hammer there. What did you think about his WWF career? Because, he tagged with Brutus Beefcake, the Dream Team, and Illustrious Johnny V as their manager, but he never really had like a solid singles run in the WWF. What did you think about his WWF run there?
Other than giving him the Intercontinental title just once, maybe they should have gave it to him again down the road, or I don't know. Yeah,
I feel like more could have been done. Yeah.
He was so much better than what they thought he was. Right,
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, no, I always put him in that category, and I know this guy's better just because of how good he was with the microphone. But like Piper, in a way, like I didn't understand why they didn't get more. He was,
Yeah.
I mean, the robe, the whole deal. I mean, really, was Flair really any better than him in the ring? Probably not. No, he had the figure four.
Yeah, they both had the figure four. Yeah, yep.
So he was good. I love
Yeah.
him. My favorite.
I always enjoyed the him teaming up with Beefcake with the Dream Team. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And
Me
then he teamed up with the Honky Tonk Man at one point. Rhythm and Blues.
Yeah. I couldn't believe, right? He dyed his blonde hair black to be like a Johnny Cash type there.
Yeah.
Hey
man, whatever pays the bills, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy back in 1990 Sky Dome, remember?
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
And that was kind of like the tail end there of the Hammer's WWF career was right around then.
Right.
Because once they transitioned and got into like the Monday Night Raw era, he was gone at that point from the company. So yeah.
And then we have our last clip here, guys. John, let's roll it. Speaking of another tough guy, and this was the first casket coffin match, if you will, in pro wrestling. 1980, Houston, Texas. The Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff, John.
He's great.
Yeah,
Another one with great interaction with the crowd. I love it.
Yeah, and that robe too.
Yeah, and just a naturally scary looking dude, man.
Always reminded me of like Mad Dog Vachon and stuff. I mean, this guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Look at him.
Bear.
You see him in a dark alley, man. You're going the other way.
He's a monster.
Yeah, too bad we lost him, and too bad he should have been in the WWE Hall of Fame a long time ago.
Yes.
Agreed.
Here we see the Russian Bear just stomping away this guy in courtesy of Japan.
Yeah.
Stomping a mud hole in him.
Yeah. This is.
Just going to town.
Remember the clip we had of him? He was the one who slapped Patterson. That was great.
Yes. Here we are, a little 1990 here. Ivan Koloff putting the boots and just destroying one of the hillbillies here. There goes the bell to the head. He's just...
Look at him, no mercy, man. Yeah.
Cousin Luke's taking a beating there by the Russian Bear.
Oh,
Oh, and then again, here we go. Ivan Koloff against Carlos Colon. I believe this was 1992.
oh, look at that. That's great.
But yeah, what a. And then here we are. I believe the last clip of him is had an Indian strap match with Wahoo McDaniel.
Another legendary performer. Yeah.
Look at where they're at too. Look at this place. They're in a gym.
They're in like a
right.
gym back in the Independence. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Too bad we never saw pro wrestling on 24th Street gym, huh?
Well,
Mr. Curry could have been the referee or something.
well, I know some guys that lived around you guys that probably could have been in there, Charlie. You know, I don't want to bring
no
their names
question.
up, but
Yeah. Hell yeah. From the old neighborhood. Yeah.
they missed their calling.
All
But, you know-
right. Well,
That's what's kind of. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, Charlie.
No, I was just gonna say because you pointed out them wrestling in a gym there and like that small setting, and we see our buddy Sean Kramars, who's been traveling around the independent scene, kind of in like those similar type of settings to where it's just more of like a smaller arena or a gym or whatever the case. But man, it's so cool because you as a casual fan, I look at it like, wow, they're wrestling in a gym. Nobody must really care, but that's not the case at all because this is where these guys really, they cut their teeth into the business, man, and they really learn, the ins and outs of pro wrestling. And then by the time they get to the big companies, they're polished, for the most part, because of the time spent in those smaller arenas, those smaller venues. But man, that's where you get like the most pure wrestling, if you will, wrestling and storylines, because it's not all about like the hoopla and ratings and all that stuff. You're just getting to some hard hitting pro wrestling in those venues.
Yes, indeed. And transways to our jobber or enhancement talent of the week.
Yes, sir. As you know, we like to bring up our enhancement talents each week. And this week we are bringing up Mr. Gary Scott, who stood at 6'1", 218 pounds. He is originally from Nashville, Tennessee. Unfortunately, had a WWF record of 0-26. Spent time in the World Wrestling Federation from 1994 through 1996, making several Monday Night Raw appearances, and of course appearing regularly on Superstars of Wrestling and Wrestling Challenge. Real name is Gary Valiant. I didn't see if there was any type of relation to Luscious Johnny V or anybody like that. I didn't see any connection there. Maybe that's actually his real name, where Gary Scott was his ring name. Maybe they wanted to take, maybe they purposely took away the Valiant part because they weren't related and didn't want to create any confusion there. I don't know, but yeah, that's our enhancement guy of the week, Mr. Gary Scott, our jobber, our enhancement talent of the week. So yeah, we just want to give him some props there as we roll along here, guys. I'll tell you what, though, outside of the wrestling world, guys, I wanted to bring this up because in the good news category, Miss Elena DiPaolo, who we discuss each and every week here in an effort to get a kidney donor. Well, the good news is she's got a donor, right, John? And that should be going down next month, I believe.
Yeah, we got lucky enough to talk to her on one of our other shows, Citizens United, and I clipped it up so you don't have to watch the whole Citizens United, and I'll put it out on the Falls Count Anywhere page where you see her for the first time tell everybody the exciting news. Unreal. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't be happier. I'm so happy we never have to talk about that again. Thank God. I don't ever want to put that scroll up again or anything.
Right. Yeah.
Already, very quick. Whoever this person's hero was, it's going to happen next month. And she did say on the other show to thank you guys specifically because she used to know that every week you and Chris wouldn't forget her at the end because it's huge. Getting it out to the country is what did it. And Falls Count Anywhere was huge in that. And she's thankful. I can't believe it's the best news of the year.
Absolutely.
Yes, I
Even if
agree
we-
with that for sure. So happy for her and her family. And
Yeah.
of course, continued thoughts and prayers will go out to her even after. And we hope and pray that she will be back to normal after a few months of the surgery, too.
Right. Yeah. Even if we had like the slightest influence of being able to help with what we were able to do here on the show, whatever the case
Great.
was, very happy for it. It's got to be such a huge relief, and then even a bigger relief once the procedure is finalized, and then she can go about living a normal life again without worrying about dialysis and whatnot. And so very happy to hear that for Elena DePaulo. So we're with you 100% still, and wish you the best with your upcoming procedure next month. And it's so great to hear the good news about that. So yeah, awesome stuff, guys.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
And the other thing I just wanted to mention too, as far as following our show, we do have the Falls Count Anywhere page on Facebook. Be sure to follow that if you're not already, and also on Twitter. The handle is at Count Anywhere. So the at symbol there and then Count Anywhere is the handle. You can find us there on Twitter as well, which would link you over to YouTube. And if YouTube would stop being a dick and let us, broadcast the shows without any stupid blackouts. I don't know if it's YouTube or WWE, whatever the case.
It seems to be WWE because when I get the message and I see it's them, it's WWE, and I don't know. I what a pain in the ass. I mean, really, come on.
Yeah, we're not like Chris said, we're not selling this stuff. We're not distributing WWE videos on the street or anything. We're just using it very, very, few seconds and clips, maybe a minute at the most. And we're talking over it and discussing it. And you would think they would.
This week, we didn't show any of their stuff at all. I made sure. And, we can do that too. But
it's going to be interesting to see how when I put it out there, what happens.
Yeah. Yep. So.
And also on Spotify, you can check us out too, guys.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, hey, I mean, if we got somebody's attention in WWE, hey, while you're putting the big X on our show, go ahead and listen to it while you're at it.
Yeah, right.
And if you're hiring, let us know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, guys, any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
For just simply for me, once again, Bobby Simmons was unbelievable. His story about what he says when you asked a good question about the greatest wrestler in his mind of all time, outstanding about Flair. And then when we were at commercial break, I leaned over to Robin and said, I never thought of that, but it's a good point. If I do watch a flick, I was just thinking that you do get the same things. And I think he's one of the greatest, but still awesome. I love when guys just say stuff, man. And then
give their honest assessment.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, just like I commented last night, John, on your sports show there with Scott, I mean, it's just so hard to pick a top 5 of all the wrestlers and then a top 5 of the tag teams and so on. It's just so hard because there are so many greats. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Someday,
and, guys, yeah. Oh,
someday, guys, you guys should do that. I'd love to see you guys, even if we broke it down by decade, or whatever, put it in eras. I'd love for you two guys to give maybe someday a little Mount Rushmore of everything like that.
Yeah, no question. That would be cool. Yeah. And like I said, something we might try for future shows going forward. We might just kind of, focus the classic clips on one specific wrestler, and then maybe even get opinions of that specific wrestler from whatever guest we might have on that day. I think that would be pretty cool. Something to look forward to here on Falls Count Anywhere as we, make tweaks and adjustments of the show as we go. We're still kind of new. We're not even a year old yet. And, but it's been a blast so far with you guys doing this and each and every week and bringing up the classics and the guests. Like you said, guys, the guests to me is what makes it. Mr. Bobby Simmons was great today. His fellow referee and fellow Charlie Smith Award winner, James Beard, that was on with you guys, also sharing some great wrestling stories. So appreciate it as always. Guys, have a great weekend. And if you're working, where you get federal holidays like myself, thank you for Juneteenth. We're going to have that off. So we got a 3-day weekend. And let's keep in mind the purpose of that, which is to recognize the freedom of African Americans in this country and what they're celebrating. So Juneteenth weekend, and enjoy the long weekend, guys. And as we have this awesome weather here in Western New York, and get the grills out and do some cooking and enjoy it, guys.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to John
Oh, yeah.
and
And to
Mr.
you, Chris.
Turner and all the fathers out there.
And to myself, and just in case I have a kid out there I don't know about, I just like to throw it out there as a disclaimer. Happy Father's Day to my father, and to all the dads out there, to you guys. You guys, it's a full-time job from what I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Indeed.
Sure.
Absolutely. Well, guys, as we wrap up, I want to thank everybody for taking a minute or two, or whether it's the entire show, to check us out. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we look forward to keeping it rolling next week, guys. We'll see you. Have a great weekend.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.